Welcome, everybody. My name is Donna Poulidis, and I am a center owner of the EE System Technology in Greece. And it is an absolute honor to be sharing this gathering with you today. This came off of inspiration with my talk with these two beautiful women yesterday, and we said, let's gather and share some wisdom on what center design really needs in terms of creating true wellness spaces from the inside out, where the environment is just as healing and facilitating to healing as the technology is itself. So from the moment people walk in, I would even say from the moment people enter the website to even feel that essence aesthetically. Energy is everywhere. Energy is what we are, so we can feel that even over the phone and on the website. And to bring that into our centers from the feeling of the walls, the space, the air. So we're going to talk about all of these things with these amazing experts. So we have with us Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, which most of you or all of you watching this already know. And Dr. Sandra Rose Michael is the inventor of this beautiful technology that you see behind me, which is the energy enhancement system. We have now over 700 centers in the world with this technology and growing. And
Thousands of private homes all over the world.
that's right. So we've lit up the globe with this amazing healing and wellness technology. And as you know, Dr. Sandra Rose Michael is a doctor of natural medicine and over 40 plus years of research and innovation and wisdom in healing methods. And then we have with us Dr. Lydia de Leon of Geophilia. And Dr. Lydia she's become a friend of mine, and she is a mentor and advisor. And so Dr. Lydia, for those of you that don't know her, though she is very well known in her circle of sacred architects, has a PhD in geobiology, a master in sustainability, and a degree in architecture. And with her husband, they have an amazing company called Geophilia. And this company focuses on sustainable environmental design and sacred architecture. And her work and her book, The Power of Sacred Location, really focuses on the sacred science of ancient temples and how essentially we can bring that science into our current life, our current homes, and what we may touch on today, even lighting up the grid with temples once again. So this is the basis of what we're going to talk about today. I have a feeling this could be a multi-part series, right? Because there's so much that we can share. So yeah, let's dive in. And Lydia, do you want to start us off with the five pillars of what you work with?
Yeah, before we jump into that, first of all, I want to express my gratitude to you, Donna, for taking a leap of faith and opening up the energy in Greece, which is not an easy thing to do. And I'm always grateful for that, not only because I'm originally from Greece, but I feel you. I know what it takes to do such things in Greece. So bringing the AES and bringing all that beautiful center, like all the opportunities for people to heal in different ways. So thank you for, first of all, for doing that. And secondly, thank you for the invitation. Thank you so much. And Dr. Sandra, thank you for all your dedication, all of these decades, no matter what is going on, no matter the hardship, you're there and your mission aligned. And we're so grateful for people like you. We need more lighthouses in the world. So I wanted to share just an introduction. So my background is about the research of the ancient temples. And I got into the ES and first tried it in Donna's beautiful center in Athens because I heard of a video of Dr. Sandra saying that this replicates the temple energy. So that immediately caught something, even though I didn't know much about the technology at that time. And I can tell you from my own experience that I feel this is true because, for example, one of the functions of the temples that I have discovered is alter states. through micro seizures in the temporal lobes. And what happens is when I get into the ES, it's like I'm visiting a temple, when we do this grid work and we get this opportunity to raise and shift our consciousness. This is what I feel every time when I'm in the ES. So it's an amazing opportunity we haven't yet brought the temples back. We were all discussing together that we want to do that even further, but Dr. Sandra is doing it anyway. She's bringing the energy of that, and I hope we can bring from our side, from holistic architecture, the envelope to hold that, for the people, because in the past we did have that. And I know all of us, we remember how it was when we had a global grid of temples that were doing several things, several functions. So yeah, I don't know if you want to share something on that before we move on to the tips for the spaces.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is recreating the ancient energy of the healing temples, and we had to do it in a modern way of how do we create like that earth acupuncture and generate those fields. But it's recreating the ancient healing temples with all the codes for the DNA and of course the synchronization of right and left brain hemispheres for those ideal optimal altered states, so to speak. And I'm excited about working with you on this because, yes, we're recreating the space of healing, and each person, whether it's around their bed, it's affecting the entire planet. It's feeding the grids and the fields of consciousness around the planet, within the planet, and the grids, like you mentioned, which is the ancient principles of the temple architecture. And that's very, very intentional. But what I'm excited about is you bringing your knowledge forward so that people who want to enhance their spaces and enhance and bring back and expand even more of an intention with your own healing centers or healing temples. Each one is your own. We didn't want to do a cookie cutter. People wanted me to do EE system as the same design and roll it out like a McDonald's or something, and that's not it. We wanted each person to recreate their own ideal optimal healing space, their own healing centers, their own healing temples, according to their own, place and space and what they want to really create. So what I'm excited though about is you bringing the tips forward and us bringing different tips forward for enhancing the healing capabilities globally.
Thank you, Dr. Sandra. It's exactly the way we also share when we explain about holistic architecture. You have junk architecture and fast food architecture, and you have, healthy, organic, gourmet architecture. It's the same thing. So of course, this is not something that, you just make one thing and you put it all around the world like we see today. You have skyscrapers that look the same all around the world. And I see two issues here, which is also part of the tips. Like, of course, every center, every healing center, every temple, every house needs to be different. Why? Because we always align it with the energy of the people. So we do a special analysis. So what are your elements? According to that, what are your colors and all these things? And also, what is the spirit of the place? Where on the planet is it located? What is it asking for? So we need to bring always the building, the owners or the people that are birthing the project, and the land. These three things need to come into harmony. It's not just a random thing to be designed, theoretically, because an architect has this idea and then place it anywhere. It has always to have this anchoring with always these three parts. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Couldn't agree more. Now, regarding the tips, of course, all of us are very knowledgeable here. Yes, we do a lot of the architecture already, but there are so many things we could talk. So because we have a specific amount of time, let's keep the most important parts. So in the way we work in the Geophilia design system, we have these 5 pillars or 5 elements that are related to them. And there are 5 main issues that we need to look if we want to have a really healthy space. And it's really important for any space to have those covered. But even further, I would say, if you want to create a healing center and you want to bring this incredible high-level technology as the ES, I would say it's even more important to have like a beautifully aligned and the most harmonic space you can, to even further support is like Dr. Sandra says, if you go there in the ES and you are, I don't know, your mind is busy, you're doing other things, you don't allow the most of that to work in your body and in your energy bodies. Well, it's the same with the space. So if you have a space that is already very harmonic, it can support the process even further. So the first pillar I would mention is what I call the vital level, which has to do with where the building is placed. This is something I did on my PhD. It cost me a lot of difficulty and challenges to get that out, because that's also related to the ancient temples. But basically, we don't want to have anomalies below where we are. We want to have a neutral geomagnetic environment. So that's normally called geopathic stress, or all these different lines that maybe you've heard of, the different grids. And so we want to make sure we do like a scan, and we want to make sure that the location of where we are doesn't have that. And of course, if we can move something, we do. And if we cannot, there are remedies. And of course, the ES does play a big role in harmonizing these things. But of course, it's always better to avoid that. And so that could mean underground water, underground faults, and all these different, what I call discontinuities. So there is basically a shift of one of the fields, of the Earth's fields. So either the values of the field is far higher or far lower. So that means there is a big change. And we don't want that in our bedrooms either, just FYI, because that's where the body gets rejuvenated and restored. So it's a kind of stress. So that's the first one. The most important part of this level is the area. Now, of course, if you're doing a new building and you want to do, for example, a beautiful healing center with the ES, we can do the analysis of the land and we can see what area is best, because there are areas that are more implosive, as we call, or, more harmonic in simple ways. Or we can help, picking a land. So one piece of land maybe has a lot of challenges, another one is more easy to work with. So these things can be done in advance, but also for existing places, we can do the same and have a check. So make sure that everything is okay. Do you have any comments on this first part, the first level?
I mean, with our technology, there is such a transmutation of the detrimental fields and detrimental energies through it's such a powerful anchoring of the, not just the scalar vortex, but that the columns of light, literally the columns of light, that are being anchored with it. So because there's a lot of healing required all over the planet, so we can't just look for the ideal optimal temple space. We've got a lot to heal. And there's the ways to optimize everything, because going into an EE system, you want that sense of entering sacred space, entering into a deep state of healing, entering sacred space. So you want it to be conducive of feeling like this beautiful healing temple, like Donna has created in Saloniki, for example. It's a beautiful healing temple. And each of the systems are that, although some are more clinical, some are more around the bed in the home, but you always want that sense of being able to go into deep meditational, deep healing, entering sacred space, ultimately within. So you want to create the environment to be conducive to that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so second level is a physical level. This has to do with all the building body, let's say, all the materials, and also the indoor air quality. And I could go on for hours just on this level. Why? Unfortunately, today we have so much materials that are toxic because we're just creating things to make construction faster, have less cost and make things easier sometimes. But that doesn't take into consideration the effect on our health and our well-being. So that's an important factor. Of course, if it's a new building, do as much as natural materials. And the reason for that has an effect also in the energy levels. That's a whole other story. It's about fractality, and natural materials are far more fractal, so they will reverberate the ES even better. But having into consideration just a normal construction, if you already have a system or if you're renting a space, that is already done, what we can do is have the finish, have a low VOC paint or zero VOC paint. So if you're new to that, that's called volatile organic compounds. And this is the smell of the new paint, I'm sure you all smelled it once or twice. And that is detrimental for the health. We don't want that. So you can choose natural paints with low or zero VOC. And also what we do, we add a special crystal powder to that. And so we neutralize all the building materials of the wall or the ceiling like that, and creates a much more harmonic space. The other thing here that we were talking about recently is please throw to the garbage, if you have any artificial fragrances. Like I went recently to a system, I will not say which one, and I was like a little thief taking out, the little bottles of fragrance and hiding them in the bathroom because I got a headache. So what happens is if you see anything that says fragrance or perfume in any product you're using, what happens is that is an equal to a fake estrogen. So it's called a xenoestrogen. So what it will do, it will attach to the pile of estrogen your body has somewhere, and it will consider it the same. And that will create something that most people have in the planet, and I've suffered from that as well. It's called estrogen dominance. And that is proven to create all kinds of cancers, including breast and ovarian cancers. It creates fertility issues. It creates an over-feminization of men because instead of having, healthy testosterone, they get a pile of estrogen. And that's also a whole other, we could go on it forever, but it's a big issue. So what you can use is natural essential oils. They are affordable. You can get a nice diffuser. Donna has that in her space, and you can get eucalyptus or mint. Okay.
Gary Young, Thieves is a real classic formula. And yeah, Gary Young and I actually received our Doctor of Natural Medicine at the same time, by the way. But so we do recommend, for example, very good pure oils, and instead of those toxic, another term form that people need to realize, gender bender chemicals. And they're carcinogenic. They are cancer causing because it interferes so much. And people think, oh, how cute, this little Zen reed thing. And they're putting out toxic fumes, or they're cleaning products and all these things, or anything that goes on the skin, is a problem because it's immediately in the bloodstream. Or if you're inhaling those toxic fumes or those plug-in-the-wall they're not purifiers. What do they call them? Those plug-in-the-wall, they're super toxic. So I've seen those used in centers or in the bathrooms and things, and we absolutely do not want to give any more toxic load. One of the things I brought out is my friend, Dr. Sharon Winters, wrote a book called The Pure Cure. Have you ever heard of this? It's like a Bible of what creates cancer and what are the solutions. And of course, our technology is also in this book for detox, The Pure Cure by Dr. Sharon Winters. It's a Bible that every center really should have. and it includes our technology because these things, it mentions about the using low VOC or no VOC paints and all the different solutions for cleaning products and things like that. So I recommend putting, the brown bottle of hydrogen peroxide, put it in a spray bottle, use that for cleaning versus your Lysols and these things that are extremely toxic for the environment.
And this is
Yeah.
what inspired our talk today because we were also discussing how we have clients coming in with cancer and various, serious illnesses, lung issues, breathing issues. And so if we are contributing to that in our spaces and amplifying it, obviously we don't want to do that. Something that we do here is we have diffusers in every room. And we also customize the scents. So the beautiful thing about pure essential oils is that you can create custom aromas, custom scents, and it goes beyond being an aroma. It's an aromatherapy. So it can also bring someone back to beautiful childhood memories. It can instantly activate new neural pathways and essentially bring you into a new mood and a new state of being. So we use them a lot in custom ways for our clients. Imagine stepping out of the infrared sauna into the space where you're going to breathe in some fresh eucalyptus, for example, or adding
To
that into
encourage
your
people to
shower.
breathe. I mean, again, the breath is so important, but that eucalyptus then helps, or peppermint, and these different ones will help open up the breath, because that's one of the biggest things is just getting people to breathe deeply. But it goes direct through the limbic system and all that. So, yeah, essential oils can be a wonderful enhancement,
Yeah. And since
and
you brought the cleaning products, I also wanted to add to that. I find it personally so contradictory to go to a healing space or, sometimes I go somewhere for a meditation, either to give one or receive one. And then you go into the space is beautiful, and then it smells all these toxic cleaning products from chlorine to whatever else. And I find that an extreme contradiction. And you guys, it doesn't have to be, for everybody listening, it doesn't have to be difficult. You don't need to spend a lot of money. As she said, hydrogen peroxide, you can use vinegar, you can use even lemon juice,
Lemon.
baking soda, and even a few drops of essential oil if you like, and Castile soap. It doesn't have to be something complicated. You don't have to go and look into special stores. I mean, feel free to do that if you like the idea, but if you're new to that, just keep it very simple and just throw out anything that has ingredients that you cannot pronounce, It's as simple.
Yeah, and
The
everything
other
you
thing I want to,
mentioned, sorry,
sorry?
Lydia,
No,
everything
no,
you mentioned is essentially edible, right?
exactly.
So imagine a child crawling on the floor. When my son was a baby, and now we're talking 18 plus years ago, I've been in the natural health world for over half of my life, and I had to get into this very fast when he was going to be born to learn even more how to essentially child-proof my home from chemicals, right? Because anything the baby is touched. So imagine that now, fast forward, and when we're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond, we're no different. And our bodies, in fact, they might even be even more sensitive because we've been so toxified, right? So many environmental toxins over the decades that I find even now it's even more important, and it's never too late to change. And just like Lydia said, it can be very simple changes. You even notice the plant behind me. So adding plants into your spaces that act as air purifiers themselves, or
Yeah.
as we were discussing, depending on the space itself, even adding a machine air purifier to,
Yes.
right?
I was just about to add exactly that. So there are specific plans that you can add to clean the indoor air quality. And if you think your air quality is great, it's not, even if you're doing the best. Because if you're in an existing building, you will have all the off-gassing of different things, even from old carpets or curtains if you haven't changed them. So all that can be easily cleared with a good air filtration system that should have a HEPA filter, and best would be if it has an ionizer, because there are different things in spaces now that are synthetic, and then you have positive ions. You don't want that in your space. You want the negative ions, so that can help. And of course, in spaces that don't have good ventilation, and there are many people in the ES, you want to make sure you clean out, the air quality. So plants, amazing as well. And the last thing I wanted to mention in this level, before we jump to the next one, is the synthetic wood. That's a big issue that we try to educate people a lot on. It's something I suffered from when I got really sick moving into a freshly built apartment in Athens. That was a long time ago. And that's basically off-gassing formaldehyde. So anything that is not natural wood, and it's plywood or MDF, all of these things, particle boards, they have formaldehyde that will off-gas for 10 whole years before it stops. So here you have two options. If it's already in the building and you can do nothing, there is special varnishes that are formaldehyde sealants. So they will seal off the off-gassing. Now, of course, if it's more than 10 years ago, you're mostly good. But if you have a choice, you're either remodeling or you're doing a new freshly built space, always go for natural wood if you can. And now they're putting the chemical and the industrial materials very cheap, and then everything natural, the price is going up. So we've had clients that say, I have all these areas to make with wood and the cost is too high. So they go to the particle board. So at least we have the solution of the varnishes there. So there is always things that we can do. That's what I want to share for this level, for the physical level. Now, the third level is the emotional level, or what we call here, it's related to the water element, but it's all about the colors of the space and how we do the arrangement. So here there are many beautiful things we can do. Of course, color is related itself to a frequency, so it's not just a random thing. We do know that colors affect us in different ways. So, if you are doing an ES center, I would avoid extremely strong colors like a very bright red, or, just very harsh or very heavy colors. I would, especially in the rooms, the healing rooms, I would definitely recommend more pastel colors, or colors generally that bring more serenity, so people can, drop into alpha and eventually theta, and, brain waves that can take you deep into your healing, which is what the ES is meant to do. So we don't want visual noise. We don't want clutter. So make sure you know your space, especially the area where the healing is happening. We don't want a million decorations and a million objects. Try to keep it as clean as you can. Donna is a great example with what she's done already by herself. And the spaces are just, pretty zen. And that's how you can easily drop into the field and get the most benefits. And also the arrangement of the space is really important. So there are many ancient traditions like the Taoist, the Feng Shui, the Vastu Sastra in India, the Vedic one, and there is even the F-Zin from ancient Greece that talk about the arrangement of spaces. So, of course, when you have already a floor plan, you can lay it out in different ways, and that can make a huge difference in the harmonics of a space. So if we know, how to analyze, and we do the analysis over the chart of the building, and then we can know what's the best arrangement according to all that. So that's also a really important factor in the interior, if we're talking about an already created space. Do you have anything to share? Yes?
I do. I want to share that if, let's say there's someone listening and they're on a budget, what they can do with their own floor plan is actually play with it a little bit. I've been doing this since I was a young child. My mother would come home and find the living room in different arrangements on a week-to-week basis, because what you can simply feel into the space. And for center owners, you can do this with your staff members, is arrange the furniture in different ways and see how the flow feels, so that you're not bumping into corners, or you don't have odd furniture structures that block off pathways. You want the pathways open. Think of it also easily as flow for someone to be able to, I'm looking out into our hallway right now where we have some chairs and tables set up, but it's set up in a way, and I've changed it 2 or 3 times to actually facilitate for the flow of people to go from one room to the other, while someone may be sitting in those seats and not needing to move and feeling essentially again, the pathways and the flow. And this is flow of energy, but also flow of the clients. Imagine them walking through the space. And the same thing can be done with the chairs and the beds in the room. Another thing is lighting. I don't know if you plan on touching on lighting. That's another huge one. I'm noticing the lights I have on today, I never turn on. I just did it so that I have lighting for the camera. But having soft lighting that, again, allows and facilitates, because you mentioned the fluorescent lighting in our chat yesterday. You want to facilitate for our brains to really be in a calm, neutral state, balanced state, and even allow for that depth of meditation or even sleep.
Yes. I wanted to share with people that are listening to visualize what Donna was beautifully sharing about the flow of energy. I would like to invite you to imagine that if the main door opens and there is a flush of water coming in, the way this water will move around your space, your house, your ES center is the same way the energy will move. And so if it bumps on things, or there is sharp corners and things like that, that will not help the move. So the flow, sorry. So that's an easy way to envision it. And also regarding lighting that you mentioned, this is something that I share a lot on. So today we have the worst lighting ever officially, but we have also good options available. So before there was this huge ban on incandescent bulbs, which is the best we can get. Why? Because it's the one that is mimicking the sun's spectrum the closest. Yes, people can say, oh, it takes more energy, my bill will get higher, but the cost on your health and the people that are coming for your ES healing, it's far greater than a cost of electricity today. And so what you can get, if you cannot get incandescent, because in many places now you cannot even buy them, your second best option is you can get full spectrum lights. So that can be even LED, but if you get the normal LED, they have very problematic spectrum. So avoid the blue, all the blue light, kind of blue. I don't mean like it's literally blue, right? It's white towards the colder colors. That actually will ignite cortisol in your body, and you don't want that when you're trying to get deep into your healing. Prefer soft lighting, as Donna said. You can also use, I love the salt crystal lamps, because they transform whatever bulb you have inside and the light comes out very soft and natural. Avoid at all costs the fluorescent, because they are the worst for many reasons. They have a flicker, so that flicker really impacts the brain and the eyes. They have heavy metals that leak, and they also create a big electromagnetic field that is very problematic. So we want to avoid all that and get the options that are better. And you can also, now we have intelligent lights that, they can switch to warmer after, let's say, sunset. So if your system is open, let's say after sunset, sometimes for a country it can be after 5, and there are appointments at night, you can switch to warmer light. And that's amazing. We have that possibility today. Okay.
I love it.
So fourth level is what we call the intellectual level. Is the informational level. So the third one we call the gravitational level. So the fourth one, we go to the informational world. And this is all about sacred geometry. The main pillar here is sacred geometry. So of course, if we can design space since the beginning with proportion, that's the best. That's how the ancient temples were designed. The reason, a simple reason, is that what we call sacred geometry is basically what the universe takes to design. Like it designs through these proportions, and that's how it creates a continuation across the very, very small, the quantum world, and the very, very big, the cosmic level. And so if we are architects in the middle scale, in the mesocosm, we want to create that continuation. And that's one important thing. And of course, the other thing is that sacred geometry has in tests and in different like ways to have results measurable, it can structure the field. So either we're talking about EMF, or we're talking about etheric energy, or we're talking about physical things, or like water, for example, it will structure the water if it goes through a vortex of sacred geometry. So the same is with the space. So if you have an existing space, we can add paintings, we can add different 3D objects. There's many ways to infuse that. And of course, you have already the yes, which is full of sacred geometry, but we can add that in the space and create even higher levels of harmony. So that's an easy way to do that, is with art and some objects. Do you have anything to add for this level?
I did want to mention, you talked about the colors, and that is an aspect, the polychromatic, aspect, and the light of a lot of the centers, just the light of the system alone is all that's needed in the space itself. But I love the salt lamps and using salt, because that has another whole level of benefit in halotherapy as far as the air purification. Some of the things you might not realize is the technology itself, the EE system, does ionize and somewhat ozonate the air. So it does have that natural effect. And of course, you talked about the restructuring of water. Obviously, it does that extraordinarily effectively and efficiently. So these are all things that are, incorporate, that would occur naturally in the standing columnar waves of the temples and things like that. So I think it's also good then to have visuals that remind you of sacred space. And one of the biggest things I like how you talked about, you open up the door and the flow comes in. That's really where it starts, as far as people feeling welcomed to the space, invited in, cradled in, flowing in, where they just really want to feel that energy of being drawn in and welcomed, both visually, energetically, but also by your gatekeepers, by your priestesses that you have to welcome them to your healing temple. It's very, very important, the intentionality. And that's why I like how you talked about, that informational, dense, intentional and informational fields, which is a lot of what we're about. And the owner of the center really is setting that tone. You are the driver. And to make sure that everything is aligned with true, best, and highest purpose and potential for yourself. Everything's either in alignment with your true, best, and highest purpose, highest potential, highest expression, or not. And that's where the old feng shui mantra comes in too: clear the clutter. Clear the clutter, clear the clutter, so that you have clear space and welcoming space and a clear healing space, a space that's clear enough so healing can occur. But also, we get people think I'm the complaint department for centers, and I'll hear about how the bathroom was dirty, and so they'll never go back again. Things like that. Or they didn't like you said, they had these toxic reeds or fragrance things in their bathroom, or Lysol. They used Lysol in their bathroom, and they have this toxic experience rather than having a true healing temple experience.
Yeah, it's just that, as we have said before, most people don't know about these things, unfortunately, and usually it's out of ignorance, because, when people get to know about these things, usually they shift things around. So, but I personally did keep on going to that center, no matter what, because the healing aspect of the yes is really important for me. So, I
It does
threw away some fragrance things, and I opened the windows and I sat next to the window. I turned off the fluorescent lights. I did the best I could.
Because it is designed to create transmutational energy in we're living in a toxic world. That's the reality. But we also want people to be more intentional with their healing space.
Yes, yes. Okay, so last level, we have almost no time left, but last is the spiritual level. So we're talking here about the quantum world. And one simple tip I can give you, again, there's a lot of things we can do to create really a quantum space for the ES to support, its own amazing implosion field. But I would say one simple tip is your intention for the space. You that are the owner, you that have the vision, you that already has the center, intention has been proven to change DNA. I'm talking now with scientific results, not just the new age ideas, which are amazing, but we have the proof of all that today. And so there is an effect of intention. So if as an owner, you hold a special intention for your space, or if you're just creating a new space now, or redesigning it as an existing space to get a new center, work with your space energetically. Do clearing out with your own energy. You connect yourself to the heart of the space and you clear out and you place the new seed, the new intention, and you do that consistently in your space, and you will not believe the results. And you add to that all the magic of the ES, and the result can be extraordinary for you and for all the clients that will come there to receive the amazing benefits.
That is so true, Lydia, and especially now as we are in this brand new year and this 1 year or 10 year, however you want to, shift it or take it on the fire horse. I highly recommend center owners stand right in the 0 point and make their intentions first and foremost for themselves, for the center, for the clients, for the community, the greater community that may or may not even come into the space, because we know we're impacting beyond these physical walls, and ourself and our essence, we are impacting the world, and we know this, right? What I do impacts you whether I see you or not. So we are the living examples, and living and breathing this consciousness. These are amazing points, Lydia. I thank you so much. I think it will be wise to even do a part 2 and get into specifics, or even get questions from center owners, specific questions. I think that would be really fun to dive in. And perhaps after this, we can even make a small document based on what we spoke about, because I'm dropping in a very simple idea for center owners to take away from this is essentially from the moment you walk in the door, what are the different experiences, sensory experiences that people can have? Very simple, based on everything that we've already mentioned, from aromatherapy to the sprays to, different elements to have in each room, from the salt lamps, etc. So for people to have a little takeaway, maybe PDF. So I'll be happy to put that together. And Dr. Sandra, any final words?
Well, anybody watching this, if you have questions or you'd like us to go deeper, or like to explore things deeper, let us know. Let us know your questions and how else we can support. And as always, having your own center. This is a phenomenal broadcast. I mean, scalar is carrier waves, and it's a broadcasting device. So to share the intention, thoughts create. Everybody knows that. Everybody's heard that. So what are you creating with your thoughts? And you want to keep the love and let go of everything else. Keep breathing light, breathing love, and letting go of anything and everything that no longer serves our highest purposes in our being. And that's the aloha, oneness with the breath, and staying focused on the perfection and the miracles of that love of all life within us. And to remember, that's what you want to share. to share the only thing you really want to share with anybody. It's our light, our love, the wisdom, the joy, the healing, and stay focused on that, because the more gratitude you have for the miracles, the more miracles you get to be grateful for. The more appreciation, he who is thankful in all things shall be made glorious. And people feel that. All anybody really wants is the love.
Wonderful words. Well, from my heart, I wanted to thank you both for all your dedication, all your work. And I really see you, and I mean that. I really see you both as heroes with the challenges and the things you went through. So thank you for keeping on your mission and aligned and being dedicated in helping people. And I'm so excited and grateful for this connection. And, if we can help some centers, get a better space, that's all from our side, our mission to get people in wellness through their spaces. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you for sharing, being willing to share your wisdom and your beauty and the elegance of your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for all the work that you do, and you inspire us, dear Lydia, and you are going to help light up the globe with your sacred temples and homes that you and Arturo create through geophilia. So we are honored to be with you.
Thank you, Donna, for this wonderful idea that we were just chatting and decided maybe this would be a good thing to share. And here we are on Epiphany. So hopefully we're sharing and people will have some epiphanies as far as ways to actually, just fine tune their intention and their space a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both. I wish you a beautiful rest of your day, and I have a feeling we'll be doing this again very soon.
Absolutely.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.